My grandmother never let visitors stay past sunset. My grandmother had a lot of rules about her house, but the sunset rule was the one she never explained. Visitors had to leave before the sun touched the horizon. No exceptions. I thought it was just her being difficult. She was 92 and set in her ways, the kind of woman who still hand-washed her dishes and refused to own a microwave. The sunset thing seemed like another quirk. Something about her bedtime routine or not wanting to entertain. Then she fell in rock one chart narc. The first week was fine. I learned her rhythms, her preferences, the way she liked her tea. She had a friend who came by on Tuesdays, a woman named Eleanor who brought library books and stayed for lunch. Eleanor always left by 4, even in summer when sunset wasn't until after 8. I asked my grandmother about it on the 8th day. Why does everyone leave so early? I could make dinner. You could have company in the evening. She looked at me with those sharp gray eyes that age hadn't dimmed. The rule keeps us safe? From what? From what? I let it drop because arguing with her was like arguing with a mountain. On the 15th day, her physical therapist ran late. His name was Marcus, a kind man in his 40s who told jokes while helping her with her exercises. His previous appointment had gone long, and he didn't arrive until 4:30. I watched my grandmother's face tighten as he worked with her. She kept glancing at the windows, tracking the sun's position. Marcus noticed her distraction. "Everything okay, Mrs. Voss? You need to finish quickly," she said. He laughed, thinking she pied. "Just a few more reps." "Now," she said, and her voice had an edge I'd never heard before. Marcus looked at me, confused. I shrugged. He helped her back to her chair and packed his equipment, clearly uncomfortable. I walked him to the door at 5:40. The sun was low, maybe 20 minutes from touching the horizon. My grandmother didn't relax until I'd locked the door behind him. "That was rude," I said. "That was necessary." I started to argue, but she held up her hand. "You'll understand. Watch the door." "Watch it for what?" "You'll see." I didn't believe her, but something in her expression made me uneasy. After dinner, I sat in the living room with a book, positioned where I could see the front door. My grandmother sat in her chair, hands folded, watching with me. The sun set at 6:18. I know because I checked my phone. At 6:40, someone knocked. I started to get up, but my grandmother's hand shot out and gripped my wrist with surprising strength. "Don't." "Someone don't?" Then a voice, muffled through the wood. "Mrs. Voss, it's Marcus. I think I left my keys." I looked at my grandmother. She shook her head, her face pale. "He's probably been looking for them for 20 minutes, I whispered. "I should let him check. That's not Marcus. It sounds exactly like him." "I know it does." The knock came a third time. "Hello? I really need those keys. I can't get home without them." I pulled against my grandmother's grip, but she held firm. We sat listenant. After a flunk burkout shriek, my grandmother didn't release my wrist until a full minute had passed. "Now you understand why visitors leave before sunset." "I don't understand anything. What if it really was Marcus?" "It wasn't." "How do you know?" She was quiet for a long time. "Because Marcus knocked the same way 40 years ago." That made no sense. Marcus was in his 40s 40 years ago. He hadn't been born. I said so. "Not your Marcus," my grandmother said. "Mine Marcus," my grandmother said. "Mind," she told me then. His name had been Marcus too, a coincidence that had unsettled her from the start. He'd been running late one November evening, arrived after 5, worked past sunset. She'd walked him to the door at 7:15. The sky had been dark for over an hour. He'd stepped out onto the porch, then stopped and patted his pockets. "I think I left my keys inside," he'd said. She'd let him back in. They'd searched for 20 minutes, finally finding them between the couch cushions. She'd walked him to the door again, lekt munnet helded light. She'd the peephole and seen Marcus standing there, wearing the same clothes, same expression. "Mrs. Voss, I think I left my keys." She'd opened the door, confused. "You just left. You found them." He looked at her blankly. "Can I come in and look?" Something about his eyes had been wrong. She couldn't explain it, but she felt a deep animal certainty that the man on her porch was not the man who'd left 10 minutes before. She'd said no and closed the door. He'd knocked for 3 hours. Same words over it, "I think I left 10 minutes before." She'd said "Edminut. Can I come in and look?" She'd called the police twice. They'd driven by, found no one on her porch, told her to stop wasting their time. but the knocking continued, audible only to her, until just before dawn. Then it stopped. The next day, she'd called Marcus's office to apologize for the confusion. They'd told her Marcus had died in a car accident the night before, around 8 o'clock on the highway 20 miles from her house. He couldn't have been knocking on her door at 10, but something had been knocking her door at 10. But something that such white hide, no exceptions. Because whatever comes after dark, it wears their faces. And if you let it in, it stays. I didn't sleep well that night. I told myself it was a story, nothing more. The kind of thing old people convince themselves of. Maybe she'd been confused about the timeline, or the knocking had been real Marcus and the accident had happened later. Trauma rewrites memory. But the next evening at 6:30, someone knocked again. Mrs. Voss? The voice was mine. Can you unlock the door? I was sitting right next to my grandmother, phone in my hand. We both stared at the door. Please? My voice called. It's cold out here. My grandmother's hand found mine in the darkness. We didn't move. We barely breathed. The knocking came in patterns. 3 raps, pause, 2 raps, pause, 3 more. Like it was testing different rhythms, trying to find one we'd respond to. My voice alternated with others. Elamoleum but cotcum dadigus. In the morning, I checked the porch. No footprints in the dust. No sign anyone had been there at all. What is it? I asked my grandmother over breakfast. I don't know, she said. I've never known, but it's been here a long time, longer than me. My mother had the same rule about this house. Why don't you move? She smiled, sad and tired. Where would I go? It knows me now. It knows my voice, my face. It would follow. That's not possible. Then explain last. I couldn't. My grandmort's heel plew lowly. Visitors before sunset, no exceptions. I screened her calls in the evening, never answering after dark. I stopped jumping when the knocking started, because it did start most nights. Sometimes my voice, sometimes strangers, sometimes sounds that weren't quite words. We'd sit together in the living room, lights off, pretending not to hear. In October, my grandmother developed pneumonia. She died on a Tuesday morning, Eleanor sitting beside her, holding her hand. The sun was high and bright. I inherited the house. I told myself I'd sell it, move back to the city, put this name. But I kept delaying, finding reasons to stay 1 more week, 1 more month. Winter came early. I had a friend visit in early December, someone I'd known since college. We lost track of time over dinner and wine, laughing about old memories. I glanced at the clock at 8:15 and felt my stomach drop. You need to leave, I said. She looked confused. What? Please. Just trust me. She gathered her things, hurt and baffled, and I rushed her to the door. She left at 8 stunt. The sun high out the out straight. Hey, it's me, her voice exact and perfect. I left my scarf. Can I grab it real quick? I looked at the couch. Her scarf was there, blue wool, still warm. Please, she called. It's freezing. I picked up the scarf and held it. I could return it tomorrow in daylight. I could mail it, I could do anything except open that door. I know you're in there, my voice said. Mine, not hers anymore. I can wait. I turned off all the lights and sat in my grandmother's chair. The knocking, soft, and my grandma's drax. Now I understand why she never left this house. Some rules aren't meant to be explained. They're meant to be followed. Drop your verdict in the comments. Wait, what?